Today I'm going to do an analysis of The Fallow Deer at the Lonely House by Thomas Hardy. I hope some actual English scholars are going to comment and tell me how wrong I am about my analysis. I didn't even do like an in-depth reading about Thomas Hardy. I just kind of like did a quick Wikipedia look at what he is like. And yeah, Thomas Hardy was English. He was born in England and he was born in the year 1840 and he died in 1928. This means he was involved in the First World War. He was a Victorian realist and deeply inspired, or at least really liked, George Eliot and William Wordsworth. So to me there are two ways to read the first sentence. One without looks into night. So this is the first one. One without, and then a pause, looks into night. Or it could be one without looks into night, which doesn't really make sense to be fair. But my logic is like one without looks, and then you kind of bring it forward a bit like, oh, looks into night. Like you kind of read it twice in your head, but I'm sure that is probably not what our man wanted in mind. So I believe one without looks into night is the better version of reading this. And this leads us to think, what does it mean? Anyways, well, the one is obviously the deer, and the fallow deer, let's put a picture here, is just a deer, like Bambi, Bambi's mom, Bambi's dad. So without, the deer without looks into night, and that leads us to the question, what does the deer not have? If you read it as in one without looks into night, like the second worst version I talked about just now, it could mean like this deer does not have a face, it does not have an appearance, and it looks into night. Oh, there are alternative recordings of this poem where it does not have this archaic hyphen, and instead tonight is just one word. But we shall leave that out because this is, well, I just copy and pasted this poem. It doesn't really matter. For me, my interpretation of one without is tied into the lonely house. Basically, this without is definitely intertwined with the loneliness depicted by the house. So let's draw a sad deer for the without stanza. So through the curtain chink, now some of you may be wondering, what is a curtain chink? Well, what is a chink? It is not what you think it means, but instead it just means like the gaps between a curtain. Like this is a curtain here, and then oh look, it's a gap, and you can see a person outside. So the deer is obviously looking in through a window, which has like curtains, and then the Thomas Hardy is probably in there looking at the deer, and they're just having like a little staring contest. From the sheet of glistening white. Now you might think that was actually describing the curtain, but lo and behold, it is not. Instead, I think it describes the snow outside, because curtains don't glisten, and I don't think it's that common for Thomas Hardy to have a white curtain. He just doesn't seem like that type of person. Oh, another tying into the loneliness to night. Usually, nighttime is more associated with loneliness. Like in the morning, you're busy and you don't think about being lonely and how lonely you are. The repetition of one without looks into night, one without looks into night. It implies that the deer, which is probably a metaphor for something. Okay, so here's something new as we sit and think. Now, who is we? The we could imply the reader and Thomas Hardy. That's very like a fourth wall breaking type of poem ahead of its time. It could imply that there's like a mysterious another person in the house, whether they are alive or dead, who knows? Because there are lots of people people believe in ghosts and stuff in that time. Sit and think. Well, they are sitting. Let's give them a chair. And, oh, let's add this one to fender brink. A fender brink could mean like a protective area or like a cushion. Lots of different meanings, but I believe that it means like the protective casing around a fireplace. Brink just means edge because it kind of ties in with the snow, you know, and it's winter and it's cold, it's nighttime, so they're sitting by the fireplace. So, anyways, back to the we. Who else could it be? I think it could also mean hardy and the deer. If I sound like I'm about to cry, it's just because I'm not used to talking, and that's why. Anyways, nighttime, yeah, implies like loneliness. Oh yeah, we sit and think, so it implies like he's insomniac because he can't sleep, so you sit and think when you can't sleep, and then it just gets in a vicious cycle because you're thinking and you can't sleep. And yeah, let us clear the page and we shall continue. Oh my god. Okay, so with a clear page, we're going to dive into the next paragraph. We do not discern those eyes. Now, what does discern mean? I think this word is very important to discern what this passage means. Basically, Google says that discern means to find out, investigate. So we do not discern literally means are indifferent, is indifferent. But then those eyes seem to imply the eyes of the deer, which means that we cannot be Hardy and the deer as much as they wanted to be best friends. So that leaves us with the explanation that the other person in the house, or Hardy and the reader. If you look at this on a bigger scale, Hardy was like really. Hardy's work involved a lot of social class divides, whatever. Like, oh, I'm higher up than you are. No, you're lower. You're higher up than me, etc., etc. Like, this is a peasant versus like a priest, whatever. You know what I mean. So instead, the we could be general, and it could mean like society as a whole. Wow, now that's deep. Your English teacher would love that. So society as a whole, or like the upper slash middle class society, are indifferent to those eyes, which are the lower class. Those eyes again means a deer, not the deer watching the snow. So imagine like eyes watching you. Lit by lamps of rosy dyes. So the lamps mean that they are out in the street. Because you don't see lamps. Oh wow, that looks like a trash can. You don't see lamps out in the wild. You see lamps on a street with like buildings and other houses and stuff, you know what I mean? I don't know why he would randomly describe the color of the lamps. No idea. Sounds nice. Again, once more repetition. So one looks into night, one looks into night. We do not discern their eyes, we do not discern those eyes. So it's kind of like implying that he does know about the social, like how people in lower classes, he does know they're struggling, or society as a whole knows that they're struggling. Then they turn a blind eye towards them. Whoa, this is so big brain and it totally fits, right? Wondering a glow, 4-footed tiptoe. So I assume deers tiptoe a lot. They're like, wondering a glow. Oh yeah, a glow basically means you're glowing with excitement or warmth or zest for life kind of thing. So that could mean that even though the deer or the poor person is poor, they're not upset. In fact, they are happy about life, they're wondering. Or it could just be a rhyme and it means like they're being illuminated by the lamps and they are actually upset. But then they're like wondering, when will I get my next meal? Why is life so hard? But I feel like that's not really the gist because you don't tiptoe around complaining. People who complain are loud as fuck. So I would assume you're just like continuing to work hard, getting those diamonds in the mine, and just continuing to live your life, not really complaining, just life is life, you know what I mean? This is the shittiest analysis ever. My voice is about to break. I do not talk this much ever in my life.